So, Pastor Magruder, I guess I've jumped around a little bit. Sorry about that. Pastor Magruder served Mount Olive for 11 years, and I'll highlight two things. Beth Esselstrom, our organist at the time, became aware that Messiah Lutheran's 1946 Mueller organ was for sale, and we purchased that for $5,000 and then stored it for 2 years. Mount Olive's organ committee raised $33,000, and we were able then to rebuild that organ by Obermeyer Organ Company. And there's 337 pipes, and the longest is 16 feet, and the shortest is 3 feet. And Jim helped me create this history of our organs. From 1922 to 1931, it was a piano. Then there was at 1931 our first organ. 1950 was an electric organ, our second. 56 was our third one, buying Trinity Cathedral's organ. Fourth one was in 1971, and then in 1995, which is the one we have now, is the Moeller pipe organ. And so Pastor Frank, some of his and most of us have lived through this, because I think all of us have been here that long. We got new handbells in 2008. There were multiple capital improvements done. 2013, Bob, I think you were probably had hands in almost all of those. A new heating system was replaced, new lighting throughout the church, new lamp posts, and the fellowship hall was recarpeted. In 2017, we got air conditioners installed for the church offices and upper room. And then in 2020, the bathroom. In 2021, because of a water leak, we did the library. The biggest thing that was done during that time was our stained glass windows. And that was done so that we could put screens on the windows and open up the windows, repair all the lead. But then I know, Bob, you've got a story about this window. Could you share that?
Well, I mean, we started this process in like 2012 or 2013, looking at what we should do, because you could actually see daylight coming through some of the windows on the sides, cracks, and of course no screens. But the window that was up there, which the frame itself is stone, so that stayed. But the window itself, there were actually pieces of glass missing out of it. And so we decided at that point maybe it was a good idea to redesign it to something more attractive for the front of the church, because that used to be the rear of the church. And so we formed a committee, put Arden Weaver in charge of it with his artistic background. And we all submitted possible design ideas for the windows, and came up with deciding that we wanted Jesus in it. And so then we went back to the congregation and said, well, do we want a penitent Jesus or a welcoming Jesus? And it was overwhelmingly decided to do a welcoming Jesus. And so in this process, I'd gotten bids for doing window repairs and replacements, and we ended up, I had gotten 4 or 5 different bids, and I was going through all my paperwork, and just like a week or 2 before that, a pamphlet came from another company, and that was Genesis Stained Glass out of Browerville, Minnesota. It's a husband and wife team, Mary and Gary Schultz, and Jesus you see there was hand painted by her. There's 2 types of glass. There's stained glass, which the glass is solid color. We have fire glass, which is hand painted and then fired onto the glass, so it's permanent. And so it's a very artistic process, much like a painting. And so that credit to that window goes to Mary Schultz for doing the final work on it. Arden did the design of it, so we worked very closely together. That window ended up costing us $13,000 to do. That was part of the project, which was very reasonable. But overall, the total window project was, let's see, about $40,000 for just the stained glass part. Also, Genesis was the only company that was going to actually re-lead every single window, not just repair them, but put new lead in. So we were very fortunate to find them. Let's see here. The window committee, Barb Wedward, Robin Minch, Carol Farchmin, myself, and then Arden is the team lead. And I think there might be 1 or 2 more people that had a little input on that. I apologize if I don't remember them. The windows on the sides that we replaced were all custom built by Marvin Company. And then Jim Peralt was the company that installed them for us. The original stained glass windows that came with the church from Trinity Pro Cathedral were actually made by a company called Rambush in New Jersey. They're actually still in business. And I reached out to them during the process to see if they'd be interested in restoring them, but their, of course, costs were too high because they have to ship things back and forth. So, yeah. Also, rumors of a Tiffany window in this church turned out to be true at one point. There was a memorial for somebody that was a member of Trinity Pro Cathedral. It was actually dedicated Easter Sunday, April 16th, 1911. At some point when we got the church, it was removed, and it was the 3 or 4 windows at the front of the church between the 2 entries. That's where that resided. And it was very specific, it had a name embedded in it and that type of thing, and I suppose that's why it was decided to remove it. And from there, it disappeared. But I have the newspaper article announcing the dedication of the window.
So that's news. I didn't realize that, I know we talked about it, I didn't realize we confirmed it.
Yeah, we did.
Wow.
Actually, at one point, and I don't know what happened in the email, but I had drawings of the window. And so, yeah, I've been looking for it and I can't find it now. So.
We should put that, copy of that in our archives.
Yeah, I've got a PDF file of it that we can print it out nicer. It's really
Super.
tiny print on this, but we can enlarge part of it.
That would be great, that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, super.
Excuse me, so Bob, are you saying that Tiffany window was already removed when Mount Olive purchased?
No, it was after.
After?
Because Pastor Ryman remembered it.
I remember a discussion, we would always have our church meetings back in the Fireside Room, that that a member got that, must have known what he had, and we didn't know what was going on, and I was very new in my experience with church government. It was probably in the early 80s, and so I think it was let go, and not because people didn't know the value of the stained glass. And so a member took it, and then they moved away from the
I
church.
think Chicago is where they ended up or something. But
Where?
Chicago.
Yeah, yeah,
But who knows where the window is. So.
right. So anyway, that's,
You've mentioned the Fireside Room several times. The person who named it Fireside Room is in this room. That's Mark.
Yeah, but he doesn't want anybody to know that.
Don't tell anybody.
thank you, Tim.
So this is Jesus ascending into heaven from Mount Olive, and of course featured there is on his hands and feet are his wounds from being crucified, but somehow in the
Oh yeah, that part I missed. When they came to put Jesus in, I said, "Where's the stigmata?" And she said, "Oh." She had forgotten it, and so they actually had to take Jesus home and have his nails done. That's how she phrased it, but yeah.
Right, yeah.
which is a good thing, because if you recall the sermon that I've been working on for quite a while, at the dedication, that window featured the wounds prominently. So glad we got those in there.
Yeah. So then I went through all the history just to kind of talk over. We were a mission church of St. Stephen's in 1922, so I just started looking at what all the other missions that we are involved with. And I thought it was a pretty impressive list. The mission churches on the left, and
Hosea was the pastor there for later years, and
okay.
he was a part of this congregation
And
when
then
he was older and retired.
okay, and then I vaguely remember that we helped financially getting Peace in Christ. Am I remembering that right or not? That's why I've got it as question marks.
Well, that's how I recall.
That's what I recall. Anybody else?
I think it was a district mission that we supported.
Okay.
Yeah, we did support them initially.
Yeah. So I put them on here too, as being a mission church of ours.
Well,
And-
when I first moved to this area, we joined what was the mission church then up in Two Harbors and turned that back into a mission church, which is now Shepherd of the Lake. And after the forming of Shepherd of the Lake, I came here.
Okay,
And so I did not know that that was a mission from here. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
yeah. And then another one that I thought, and Julie helped me a little bit with this, and I did not include your email that you just sent me, Julie, because I asked her the other day the names that would go with some of these. And, but this is just Mount Olive ministers that went on from members of our congregation that went back into the ministry. 3 of them went to LCMS churches. 2 previous members went into the ministry in ELCA, and I think, Julie, you maybe had one other one in there. But then most recently, Martin Schoenfeld, Joseph Mensch, and then Jacob Frank. And so I thought that's kind of an impressive list also of our 100 years. Finally, we've had many cookbooks, 1946, 1958, 1981, 1992, and 2017. And I know that we had a special commemoration of the publication of the last one in 2017, and if I remember right, that may be close to our last potluck. And with COVID that has occurred, we definitely did not have potlucks during that. So I'm hoping that starting our second 100 years, the most historical event that will occur will be a celebration of the end of COVID and having a basement potluck at Mount Olive. So that's the start of our second 100 years. So, any questions?
You've done a great job.
I noticed in one of the slides that in the timeline, there was like it said there was a total of 3 fires. What happened with the other 2?
So the first one was the one in 1971 that had the fire engines. Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, you missed it.
Good, thank you. In 1984, we had some vandals that started a fire on the overpass of the sub-basement. In fact, I missed all that. There was a bunch of damage that was caused during that. And I think the Fireside Room was damaged again. And there was some other damage. And I must have missed that whole sheet. So sorry about that. And
The fire during the addition?
then they
Yes.
fired during the addition. And
We were, a bunch of us were coming here for a meeting,
A circle
LWML
meeting,
or
yes.
Yes.
something like that, and walked in the door, and it was one of those heaters, those big, whatever heat, what do they call them?
Torpedo heater.
Yes, thank you.
yeah,
Yeah, in the addition that was on fire, and we
Because it was in the
I-
winter, yeah.
Yep, I
Right.
can remember walking in the door, and, because I think I unlocked the door.
yeah. On the sheet that I must have lost, I had that question. Were you the guys that called the fire?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
there was some sort of ladies' meeting or something.
I
I
think
don't
it was a
remember
circle
exact-
meeting.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember walking through the door. And
Judy was
Judy.
there this year. Do you
Yeah.
remember what kind of meeting it was?
Sunday school teachers meeting.
Is that
Yeah,
what it was?
Sunday school teachers meeting.
Yeah.
I knew it was some sort of meeting, but
yeah.
walking in the door and smelling it and,
And fortunately, that didn't cause really much damage at all. And the heaters were there to get the concrete to dry out and firm up. Thank you. I must have lost one of my sheets, and so I missed that.
And
So,
then wasn't there a flood too in the sub-basement?
yeah, there was. We had a drain line that went out, and a tree root had grown into that line and blocked it, and so then sewage and everything else that was coming out backed up into our sub-basement. By the time we found it, I don't know, it was about 4 feet deep. Yeah, it was nasty. It was nasty.
I remember before we had the windows redone and and it being summer, we would have the windows open and all of a sudden hornets would be
Yeah.
flying in during the worship service.
Yeah.
Well, and bat sky.
Get some
and-
beer.
Bad,
Yeah. But it was a Lutheran bed.
Right. So if you have not bought your book yet, the details, and there won't be any pages missing. Talk to Julie, and I think there's still opportunity through next Sunday to order a book.
2 more days.
2 more days. So, okay, thank you. Thank you.